for batches, one is for images, and then one is for records. And so here you'll see, if you look at the image backlog, which is what we used to track back in the old system, we're about 6.3 million images waiting for review, and that's actually good. Our peak was about 8 million, and so we have come down, and we've actually seen a really good drop since the engineers made some of the key changes, like adding the review button to the find batches area, as well as getting rid of, the drop down for review, and anyway, just again making it much more visible in several different places. And so, but we've kind of leveled off lately. So we've been in this 6.2, 6.3, 6.1. It seems like we've just been kind of floating. You'll notice the last few weeks on the image backlog, we were flat, so we actually didn't gain any ground. And actually, so far on the current week, we've actually had more people indexing than we've had reviewing. And so I think that's just a consequence of the summertime, right? As people go do stuff and have family reunions and enjoy the sun. And so hopefully that will turn around. You'll still see on the record backlog, we still have reviewers that are seeming to put a dent in the record backlog, but images have been kind of treading water or getting a little worse. And then the batches, still I was surprised on those, because the quick batches, we expected the batch backlog to be increasing right now, and that really hasn't, so far hasn't been the case. It's not as large, obviously, as the decrease in the record backlog, but it's still there. So bottom line, just as you, go ahead.
But what's the difference in a record and an image?
Okay, so quick explanation of batches, images, and records. So batch obviously is what we download. We download a batch when we go into the indexing interface. And that batch, right, if it's a quick batch, it'll only have one image in it, right? But if it's a regular batch, then it may have 5 images or it may have 10 images, depending on the project. And also depending upon the number of records on an image, right? So some images just have one record, right? It's a single birth certificate or single death certificate.
Okay. They've been training us to use the word entry instead of record.
Yes, and now that's a fourth word.
And then it has 3 entries, because my one image has 3 death records on it, so that becomes 3 entries. Okay.
Yes, yeah, and they changed the language from records to entries when they launched the web indexing platform. So yes, records and entries are synonymous from the old system to the new system. Okay, so yeah, and sometimes, right, if you're doing Chile civil registration records, right, you'll have one image. It's an open book, and it's got 3 birth records on the left-hand side and 3 on the right-hand side, and so you've got a total of 6 entries or 6 records on that single image. Okay, and then in that image, in that batch, right, I might have 5 images with 6 records or 6 entries on each one, for a total of 30 for that batch.
For this part, progress means the bar is on the negative side of it.
Yes. Progress means the bars are, yes, it is counterintuitive. So this is a backlog, right? We're tracking backlog, which means images waiting to be reviewed so they can be published.
So the shrinkage of the backlog would be the stuff below the 0. The shrinkage is the negative.
Yes.
Shrinkage is good, so negative numbers are good.
Yes, positive is bad in this case, which is counterintuitive, right? And negative is good because it means we're actually reducing the backlog. And over here, these big numbers on the side, they're kind of weird. I don't know if that's the best way to show those. But anyway, they've got the number, and I wish they'd turn the number so you can read it horizontally instead of vertically. But anyway.
It's good for your mind to read things.
Is it?
I went over that in a meeting earlier, how to do it.
Okay.
Don't let your head, just learn to read that way.
Learn to read that way. Okay, so anyway, but what it means is that we still have 6.3 million images that need to be reviewed. Okay, and that's, we still typically talk in terms of images, so it's just the camera shot, right? And then if you look over here on the breakdown by language on the right-hand side, you'll see that, and there's a total column, or total row, right, for each language. Okay, so if you look at the total row so we know that there's 6.3 million images, right? So if I look at the image backlog right here, this column, so the second column, we know there's 6.3 million. So of that 6.3 million images waiting to be reviewed, it looks like English makes up almost 4.2 million of those images. So there's a really big need. Obviously, English is our biggest backlog right now. Most other languages are fairly small. So German here, we have 100,000. Italian, we have about 100,000. Until you get to Portuguese and Spanish, okay? So Portuguese right now has 685,000 images that are waiting to be reviewed. And right here in Spanish, we have almost 1.2 million images in Spanish that are waiting to be reviewed. In other words, they cannot be published on Family Search until they're reviewed. And here it'll actually show you the breakout by country. So actually Peru. Peru is the bulk of that at 677,000. And then the rest of that looks like it's just spread across all the other countries. So Peru is where we have the largest need at the moment in Spanish, but of course there's a need across all those. If you do encounter any super indexers who have really strong language skills in Portuguese or in Spanish, but with any language right now, again, by strong we would say in order to review in the language, right, we would want near native or near native skills to be reviewing. But if somebody's got an Italian undergrad, bachelor's degree from a university or something like that, right? They likely could help with those. But anyway, we definitely need help with English though too. 4.2 million. So as you talk with the super indexers, we've got several efforts right now reaching out, trying to convert more people to reviewing. That's just an ongoing need. So if they're not aware of what reviewing is, please take time to explain to them the difference between indexing and reviewing, and particularly between reviewing and arbitration. Right? A lot of people didn't like arbitration, but we found that they warm up easier and better to reviewing. And some people will say, oh, I just don't like to do that, and then we challenge them and then they start doing it for a week or two. And then we hear back from them later and they say, oh my gosh, I love it, right? I spend most of my time now reviewing. So we find that people will change their minds too, right? If they're dead set against it at the beginning as well. So,
Brett,
anyway, just an opportunity. Yes.
Will the meeting on Wednesday be recorded if we have an appointment at the same time?
Yes. Yes. Well, hold it. This coming Wednesday, I can ask. We will. I believe there's a reviewing webinar coming up this week. Yeah, so I will talk.
They don't tend to record those that they do through Adobe Connect. They're long meetings with questions and answers, and they hardly ever record them.
Yeah, we tend not to, but we could. If there's a desire and a wish, we could record those and then try to get the link out to those who need it. There's also the BYU training sessions, Sister Matthews, that you share. Do they only do indexing or do they reviewing as well in those?
I can't remember. It's 40 minutes, so they might go over quite a lot. But what we do share in the email we send out is Jason Pearson's 5-minute video on YouTube that he has updated recently. And it goes over review in 5 minutes, and it's not all that hard to review.
Yes.
I like the little 5-minute video.
Yeah, actually the 5-minute video might be better, right, than the full hour, particularly because it goes over the essentials. There's also another one. There's a British YouTube site that has them as well. They've got about a 10-minute video, I believe, on review. They go kind of slow, but
they updated their stuff because they were really old, and then they became outdated as we had various changes in the program.
Probably not. I doubt they've updated those. So at this point, yeah, you're right. The look and feel has changed a little bit somewhat since then. Okay, and then let's see. So how are we looking on number of cases left, Sister Matthews? Just so I can get a feel for that.
We have about 60 cases that are that we're finishing up. Some people don't have enough to do.
Okay. All right. And did you already mention to them that we're looking at trying to start ramping up on the regular super account management either in August sometime or definitely in September, hopefully at the latest? Did you mention that already?
I think it was the week before last that I talked about things, and then when you came in, you talked about things too, although I don't know if we mentioned the time frame of August or September.
Okay.
When we meet on Wednesday, I have some questions to ask you that might have bearing on some of the people feeling bored right now. But
okay.
So, we knew this would happen, that we were running out of things to do, and that would maybe be a slow time before we got right into the account management. We've got to make plans for what we're doing in Salesforce with the account management.
Yes, we do. Yeah, we've got details we need to tie up right before we can get ready to fully launch that. One other idea too, something to think about. So we do have some language support missionaries right now that are reaching out to, which there may have been some crossover, and I've actually let them know that as they've been reaching out. So we've got these super indexers, right? We've been trying to transition over to web to make sure they get there. We've also have a few LSM language support missionaries, and they've been reaching out to just high volume indexers. So not necessarily the ones that haven't transitioned. They're active high-volume indexers, and they're trying to explain to them the concept of reviewing, and then teach them a little bit about that, and then invite them to help review, right, if they're willing. And so we actually have quite a large list for that as well. So that might be another opportunity, right, if people are starting to get bored, and if we want to continue to allow people to engage in a very helpful and useful activity, that might be something that could also fill in this in-between time as well.
Right, and I can, if you give me a list of people, I can make one case and then clone others off of it, so it's not very time-consuming to do that.
Okay.
To create some new cases to keep some of us busy.
Okay.
I do have one new VROC missionary looking to join us, but haven't started any real recruiting efforts on others yet.
Okay.
Part of that's due to some health issues. I've got let's just say I've got a bad toothache that if I'm lucky, antibiotics are going to knock out whatever the problem is. If I'm not lucky, it's going to be oral surgery.
Yeah.
So that hit me last week.
That's no fun.
No fun.
That's not fun at all. Nobody likes the dentist.
Everybody tell the young people to floss their teeth.
Yes.
Avoid dental problems later. Brush and floss your teeth.
Brush and floss and use mouthwash.
Oh, mouthwash isn't as important as flossing. If you had to do only one thing,
flossing is it.
Only one thing, it would probably be flossing.
Yeah, that is true. All right, so
I should have started, when I was.
Yeah, they weren't quite as smart when we were younger, right? So
flossing teeth when I was a kid, I only knew one person who did it. My father.
Well, at least you had a good example in the family.
Well, he didn't tell us to. I don't know what all he did, but he ultimately lost all of his teeth when he was old, and he would not get false teeth. So.
That's fun.
Anyway, so
right.
I've got to get past this before I can really feel like I can move ahead. So, okay, so everybody have a great week. And we will keep up our good work as usual, and maybe have some other people to talk to.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.